The air shimmered above the cracked earth of the Euphrates riverbed, a relentless heat haze distorting the horizon. Dr. Aris Thorne squinted, the sun-baked dust clinging to his sweat-dampened clothes. He'd spent years in these lands, chasing whispers of the past, but the current drought had laid bare a secret more profound than any legend. The mighty Euphrates, usually a lifeblood, had receded to a mere trickle, its depleted waters exposing something monumental. A dark, geometric anomaly jutted from the exposed riverbed, hinting at a structure far too precise to be natural. Aris's heart, long jaded by bureaucratic hurdles and underfunded digs, quickened with a forgotten excitement. It wasn't just a rock formation. It was too uniform, too deliberate. The surrounding landscape, a mix of parched scrub and ancient crumbling tells, seemed to hum with anticipation. He knelt, scraping away layers of dried silt with his gloved hand, revealing the smooth, cold surface of what felt undeniably like carved stone. The sheer scale was overwhelming. This wasn't a small ruin. This felt like the capstone of something vast, something buried for millennia. His assistant, Layla, a sharp-witted local archaeologist with an uncanny knack for spotting the overlooked, approached cautiously. "Aris, you've been out here for hours. Are you seeing ghosts or—" Her voice trailed off as her eyes followed his gaze. A gasp escaped her lips, her usual calm demeanor cracking. The exposed section gleamed faintly in the harsh sunlight, hinting at an incredible preservation. This wasn't just old. It was ancient, and it had been protected by the river's embrace, untouched by the ravages of time and man. A shiver, despite the heat, ran down Aris's spine. This was it, the discovery of a lifetime. Don't miss a single chapter of this unfolding mystery. Subscribe to the channel now and hit the notification bell to join us on this incredible journey. The initial exhilaration quickly gave way to a wave of logistical nightmares. Aris managed to secure minimal funding and a small, dedicated team. Layla, whose local connections were invaluable, and Omar, a seasoned surveyor whose quiet efficiency masked a deep understanding of ancient structures. They set up a rudimentary camp near the exposed structure. The only sounds the relentless wind, the distant call to prayer from a nearby village, and the rhythmic clink of their tools against the stubborn silt. The first week was a grueling dance with the elements. The midday sun was brutal, turning the riverbed into an oven, while dust devils spiraled unpredictably across the landscape, obscuring their vision. Despite the challenges, each shovel of earth removed, each brushstroke, revealed more of the edifice. It was clearly a colossal undertaking, crafted from dark volcanic rock, intricately carved with symbols that defied immediate identification. The precision of the stonework suggested an advanced civilization, one that history had largely forgotten. Local villagers, drawn by curiosity and the unusual activity, would sometimes watch from a distance, their expressions a mix of awe and trepidation. Rumors, as old as the desert winds, began to circulate about ancient curses and guardian spirits. Aris dismissed them as folklore, but the weight of the past was palpable. He knew that for a find of this magnitude, there would be external pressures soon. Indeed, a terse email arrived from Professor Alistair Finch, a rival archaeologist from a well-funded European institute, expressing concern over their preliminary findings and hinting at a desire for collaborative oversight. Aris gritted his teeth. The fight to protect this discovery had just begun. Weeks bled into a month, the team relentless in their pursuit of the truth buried beneath the Euphrates. The initial exposed section, identified as the roof of a much larger structure, now revealed more of its imposing walls. The scale was breathtaking, hinting at a temple of immense proportions. The carvings, once obscured by millennia of silt, began to emerge with astonishing clarity, depicting stylized figures and a narrative of a civilization deeply connected to the river itself. Their biggest breakthrough came when Omar's ground-penetrating radar indicated a massive void beneath one particular section of the exposed roof. It was a perfect, rectilinear chamber, suggesting an entrance. Days of careful, methodical excavation followed, each grain of sand removed with painstaking care. The air crackled with anticipation, a collective energy fueling their tired bodies. The final layer of compacted mud and small stones yielded to their efforts, revealing not a collapsed rubble heap, but a perfectly preserved, massive stone slab seamlessly fitted into the surrounding rock. It was a doorway, sealed shut, as if the inhabitants had simply stepped inside and closed it behind them, intending to return. The slab bore a single, enigmatic symbol, unlike any Aris had ever encountered, yet exuding an undeniable sense of purpose. A wave of awe, followed by a profound sense of responsibility, washed over him. He felt the eyes of history on him, the silent gaze of those who had built this place. The challenge was not just to open it, but to understand why it had been sealed, and what untold secrets lay within. Layla ran a gloved hand over the ancient stone, her voice hushed. It's untouched, like they just left yesterday. The desert night enveloped them, but the sealed gateway seemed to hum with a latent energy, promising revelations. The decision to open the sealed gateway was not taken lightly. Hours were spent analyzing the structural integrity, meticulously documenting every detail, every minute crack in the ancient stone. Omar rigged a system of pulleys and levers designed to exert slow, controlled pressure. The air was thick with anticipation, the only sound the creak of the ropes and the grunts of the team. As the massive slab began to shift, a faint, musty scent like ancient dust and something indescribably old wafted from the opening. It was the breath of Millennia, untouched. Using powerful floodlights, they peered into the darkness. The beam cut through the gloom, revealing a short, descending passage, its walls adorned with more intricate carvings. These were not just symbols, but what appeared to be a continuous narrative depicting scenes of daily life, rituals, and a deep reverence for the river. The passage opened into a vast chamber, its ceiling soaring high above them. The air inside was still and cool, a stark contrast to the searing heat outside. The preservation was beyond anything they could have imagined. Pillars, statues, and intricate friezes stood as if they had been created yesterday, only coated in a fine, almost imperceptible layer of dust. As Aris stepped inside, his boots sinking slightly into the soft, undisturbed silt on the floor, a sense of profound reverence washed over him. Layla let out a soft cry of wonder, pointing to a raised dais in the center of the chamber. On it rested several clay tablets, perfectly preserved, their cuneiform script sharp and distinct. This was not just a temple, it was a time capsule. But as their light swept across the far wall, they caught a glimpse of something unsettling. A large, circular indent, almost like a door, but perfectly flush with the wall and devoid of any visible seam or mechanism. It was as if a piece of the chamber itself had been removed. A new, silent question hung in the air. What lay beyond this perfection? The secrets are only just beginning to unfold. Don't miss a single step of this incredible discovery. Hit that subscribe button and join our community of explorers. The first chamber, astonishing in its preservation, became their base of operations. The team worked with a quiet intensity, driven by the sheer wonder of their surroundings. Layla meticulously catalogued the clay tablets, her excitement palpable as she began to decipher the ancient script. The tablets spoke of a civilization, the children of the water, who revered the Euphrates, not just as a source of life, but as a living deity. Their history, their beliefs, and their eventual decision to retreat beneath the earth to await the turning of the waters were slowly coming to light. Omar, meanwhile, focused on the enigmatic circular indent on the far wall. It defied conventional understanding of ancient engineering. There were no visible seams, no hinges, no locks. It was as if the builders had simply willed it into existence, or more realistically, possessed a technology that was utterly alien to Aris's understanding. They spent days mapping the chamber, searching for hidden triggers or mechanisms, their frustration growing with each failed attempt. News of the discovery, despite their best efforts to maintain secrecy, began to ripple through academic circles. Calls and emails from various institutions, government officials, and even shadowy private collectors flooded Aris's satellite phone. The pressure mounted, particularly from Professor Alistair Finch, who openly questioned Aris's qualifications and hinted at seeking international intervention. Aris knew they were running out of time before the official vultures descended, eager to claim a piece of their extraordinary find. The pristine beauty of the temple felt increasingly fragile, threatened by the very world that was now clamoring to witness it. The increasing external pressure began to manifest itself in tangible ways. Strange vehicles were spotted observing their camp from a distance. One morning, a crucial piece of their surveying equipment, left securely overnight, was found subtly tampered with, rendering it useless. It was a clear message. Someone wanted to slow them down, or worse, gain unauthorized access. Aris suspected Finch, but couldn't prove it. The pristine, ancient air of the temple now felt tainted by a creeping sense of paranoia. Internal tensions also flared. Omar, a man of quiet patience, grew increasingly agitated by the surveillance, suggesting they arm themselves. Layla, ever the pragmatist, argued for stricter security protocols and avoiding confrontation. Aris found himself mediating, trying to maintain focus on the incredible work within the temple while simultaneously bracing for an inevitable confrontation. The beautiful discovery, which had once filled him with pure academic joy, was now becoming a source of immense stress and personal risk. One evening, as the desert sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, Layla burst into the main chamber, her face pale. She'd found something in the recently excavated section of the main chamber, a small, modern-looking listening device expertly hidden in a crevice. It was a cheap, commercially available bug, but it confirmed their fears. They were being spied upon. The immediate threat wasn't a scholarly debate, it was a deliberate, malicious intrusion. The children of the water had protected their secrets for millennia. Now, Aris and his team had to protect them from a very modern, very human threat. The discovery of the listening device ignited a new urgency within the team. Trust became a precious commodity. They swept the camp and the accessible parts of the temple daily, finding no more bugs, but the feeling of being watched never truly dissipated. Aris suspected that Finch's ambitions had crossed a line, possibly involving disgruntled locals or desperate opportunists. He tried to contact the local authorities, but their response was slow, weighed down by bureaucracy and a general suspicion of outsiders. Then came the accident. During a routine supply run to the nearest town, the team's only working vehicle suffered a suspicious puncture, its tires slashed in multiple places while they were inside a shop. It forced them to trek back to the camp under the scorching sun, carrying their limited supplies. The message was clear. They were isolated, vulnerable. The heat, the exhaustion, and the constant threat began to fray nerves. Omar grew more withdrawn, his eyes scanning the horizon constantly. Layla, usually so composed, snapped at a minor technical glitch. Aris felt the crushing weight of responsibility. He had brought these people here, put them in harm's way, all for the sake of a buried past. Was it worth it? Just as doubt began to cloud his judgment, Layla approached him, a determined glint in her eyes. "Aris," she said, "we can't let them win. This is too important." She then revealed a subtle detail she'd noticed on the ancient circular indent, a faint pattern only visible in a very specific light, suggesting it might be a pressure plate or a complex combination, not a solid, immovable wall. Her quiet resolve reignited his own fading hope. They wouldn't give up. The pressure is mounting, but the truth is within reach. Don't miss the climax of this incredible story. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. Fueled by Layla's insightful observation and a renewed sense of purpose that coursed through their veins, the team poured every ounce of their energy into deciphering the enigma of the circular door. Days blurred into a relentless cycle of experimentation. They meticulously tested various combinations of pressure points, meticulously analyzed sound frequencies, and shone light patterns from every conceivable angle. The air in the antechamber hummed with a palpable tension, punctuated only by their focused breathing and the occasional frustrated sigh. It was Omar, with his keen eye for mechanical detail and an almost intuitive understanding of ancient engineering, who finally made the critical breakthrough. He noticed a barely perceptible seam, a hairline fracture in the seemingly solid stone that responded to a very specific, almost melodic resonance combined with precise pressure. It was an ancient, intricate locking mechanism, a marvel of ingenuity designed not to merely secure, but to deter all but the most dedicated and intuitive minds from its secrets. The builders had clearly intended for their final message to be found only when the time was truly right, and by those who truly sought understanding. With a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the very stones of the temple, a sound that seemed to echo through the ages, the massive circular section began to slowly retract inward. It slid back with astonishing smoothness, revealing another, even larger chamber. The air within this newly opened space was profoundly different. It was charged with an almost electrical stillness, a sacred hush that immediately enveloped them. This was clearly the heart of the temple, the sanctum sanctorum of the children of the water. Unlike the first chamber, which had primarily served as a repository of historical records and daily life, this one was a true sanctuary, breathtaking in its spiritual grandeur. Towering statues of the children of the water stood sentinel, their stylized forms exuding a serene strength, seemingly gazing towards a central altar made of polished black stone. The light from their powerful lamps danced across the ancient surfaces, revealing intricate, almost ethereal carvings that spoke of deep spiritual devotion and an unbreakable bond with their aquatic deity. Upon the altar rested not the expected glimmer of gold or jewels, but a single large obsidian sphere, perfectly smooth and possessing an astonishing mirror-like quality that reflected their bewildered faces. As Aris tentatively approached it, a soft, ethereal light began to pulse from within the sphere itself, casting an otherworldly glow. This light, emanating from the ancient artifact, began to illuminate holographic projections that materialized on the chamber walls. These were not static carvings, but dynamic images that moved and shifted, telling a vibrant living story. They depicted a detailed history of their civilization, their deep symbiotic connection to the Euphrates River, and most profoundly, a dire warning about the river's future. It was a prophecy of its eventual depletion, a vivid and unsettling premonition, coupled with a desperate plea for future generations to protect it. It wasn't just a temple, it was a final, urgent message, a desperate cry from a forgotten people, their wisdom preserved for the exact moment the river's retreat would finally reveal their extraordinary legacy. The revelations from the obsidian sphere were staggering, reshaping everything Aris and his team thought they knew. The children of the water had not vanished mysteriously. They had, through their incredibly advanced understanding of the river's intricate cycles, meticulously foreseen a time of severe drought, precisely the conditions that had now brought their temple to light. They had built this monumental complex not merely as a sanctuary for worship, but as a final comprehensive warning, a time capsule of their ecological foresight. Their history, their remarkably sophisticated technology, and their profound, deep ecological wisdom were laid bare before Aris, Layla, and Omar. The ultimate purpose of the temple was not about a lost god, but about a lost future, a grim reality that humanity was now living through. The implications of this discovery were immense, transcending the boundaries of archaeology alone. This was a direct, urgent message for all of humanity, a powerful testament to ancient knowledge that held the potential to profoundly guide modern environmental efforts and mitigate impending ecological crises. But the immediate challenge remained stark and undeniable: how to protect this invaluable discovery from those who would undoubtedly seek to exploit or destroy it for their own gain. Their fears soon materialized in the form of Professor Alistair Finch. Emboldened by his extensive network and perhaps a misinformed sense of entitlement, he managed to secure an official order for Aris's team to cease all operations, citing fabricated security concerns and unauthorized excavation. He arrived at the site with a small contingent of armed guards and a chilling smirk that spoke volumes of his contempt and ambition. The confrontation was tense, the desert air thick with unspoken threats. Aris, standing firm with the unwavering support of Layla and Omar, refused to surrender the site. They possessed undeniable evidence of the temple's profound significance, a powerful moral claim to its preservation, and most importantly, the silent yet incredibly powerful message of the ancient civilization echoing through the hallowed chambers. As the standoff intensified, the local villagers, who had slowly come to trust Aris and his team, began to gather. Their quiet, watchful presence swelled into a silent yet incredibly powerful protest against Finch's aggressive takeover. It was no longer just an archaeological dig. It had escalated into a battle for heritage, for truth, and for the wisdom of a long-lost people whose message now held a desperate urgency for the modern world. The fate of the temple, and perhaps even its vital message, hung precariously in the balance. The standoff at the temple entrance became a true test of wills, a silent yet fierce clash between ambition and integrity. Finch, wielding dubious official papers and a condescending sneer, aggressively demanded immediate control of the site. Aris, however, stood unyielding, relying on the sheer, undeniable weight of their monumental discovery and the rapidly growing local support that had gathered around them. He simply refused to yield. It was Layla, quick-thinking and incredibly resourceful, who made the decisive move. While the confrontation raged, she had secretly managed to transmit a small video excerpt of the Obsidian Sphere's holographic projections and a concise summary of the clay tablet's contents to a trusted international news agency. The raw, unfiltered footage of the ancient warning, delivered directly from the heart of the newly discovered temple, went viral with astonishing speed, capturing the world's attention and decisively turning the tide of public opinion against Finch. The pressure on Finch became insurmountable. His deceptive tactics were exposed for all to see, and his condescending claims of responsible oversight were revealed as nothing more than a thin veil for blatant appropriation and greed. Cornered by global scrutiny and widespread condemnation, he was finally forced to retreat, his ambitious plans crumbling spectacularly in the harsh light of public exposure. The local authorities, now fully aware of the immense and undeniable significance of the find, swiftly pledged their full support and protection for the site. The extraordinary temple of the Children of the Water was finally safe. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the vast Middle Eastern sky in fiery hues, Aris watched the Euphrates. The mighty river, once so severely depleted, was now slowly beginning to show signs of its returning flow, a powerful and poignant testament to the very cycles the ancients understood so profoundly. He stood there with Layla and Omar, their faces etched with the deep lines of exhaustion, yet glowing with the quiet light of triumph. His long-standing disillusionment with archaeology and perhaps with humanity itself was utterly gone, replaced by a profound and unshakable sense of purpose. The discovery had not just revealed a lost civilization, it had transformed them all, reminding them of the enduring power of genuine human connection, the unwavering spirit of perseverance, and the timeless wisdom embedded deep within the earth beneath their very feet. The temple would not fade back into obscurity. It would become a vibrant beacon of knowledge, a living testament to the past and an urgent, vital warning for the future, its ancient message echoing powerfully across millennia.